Hi everyone, it's Kirstin from K Digital Studio back with another highly requested video. If you've watched any of my videos before, you know that I could not survive without my iPad. I use it for everything, but note-taking and class assignments are what I originally got my iPad for. So I've been taking notes and using it for school for around 3 years now. My first How I Take Notes on my iPad video was well loved, so hopefully you'll enjoy this updated one as well. So I'll be showing you exactly how I approach note-taking when it comes to using my iPad, as well as how I actually take said notes. And how I take notes is virtually the same for every class, so hopefully the techniques I talk about in today's video you can cherry pick or adopt into your own note-taking habits. So to illustrate my approach for note-taking, I will be using a study session I had for my quantum chemistry class. I am a biochemistry major, and so this is the second level of physical chemistry. The classes I took in preparation for this one were pre-calculus, 3 levels of calculus, differential equations, classical mechanics, or better known as just the first level of physics, and then quantum mechanics, i.e. the second level of physics. And then physical chemistry 1, which talks about some guy named Boltzmann and whatnot. My point in this being that you can use this approach for a lot of classes. Alright, so because this class has been pretty difficult for me to follow, I'll often revisit the lecture recordings after the fact. Thankfully, my professor provides lecture slides to follow along, so I'll add notes during the actual lecture itself, and then any more information I may have missed when I go back to watch the recording. After rewatching the lecture, I'll visit my textbook to see if they provide any useful examples or figures, or maybe just teach it in a different way, perhaps that it's even easier to understand. And I'll just highlight a few points to remind myself to come back to that page when I go to take my own notes. Once I have done all that, then I like to go into my GoodNotes app, which is the app I use for all of my notes and digital planning, and I'll create a new notebook for my notes, and then I'll usually title it by the chapters. And I always select the portrait quad ruled style paper because it's so much easier to write out and draw diagrams on grid paper. I like to go in and then create a header for my notes, which I typically just name the title of that chapter. For this class, I am just using a custom font that I downloaded onto my iPad and then using the new scribble feature that Apple just released in iOS 14 to write out the title, which then it will automatically convert to text. And to add a little decorative element, I'll draw little lines using the highlighter in my accent color. So for all my notes, I choose an accent color. So for this set of notes, it is purple. I do my titles differently though depending on the class, and so for my polymer chemistry class I like to use a different font, and I'll actually duplicate this font and change its color to whatever my accent color is for the notes. And then I'll overlay those two fonts to create this 3D perspective effect. To add a little more flair, I like to zoom in and just randomly draw in a few lines and dots in white. Okay, so after making my note header, I'll actually just start taking notes. I'll split up the content by writing out a few words that represent the bigger picture. So in the case of my quantum chemistry notes, the harmonic oscillator. And I'll do this using the 0.7 millimeter sized fountain pen in the GoodNotes app. And then I like to highlight that in my accent color. Any points or notes that I want to take about the harmonic oscillator, I'll then write using that same fountain pen, but in the 0.5 millimeter size. Because my classes are obviously really equation heavy, I like to box in my equations to draw my attention to them. So I do that by selecting the shape tool in GoodNotes and making sure that the fill color option is toggled on, and I'll do that using my accent color as well. And anything especially important, or if I need to define certain variables or something, I'll write that information in the accent color too. My favorite feature though of digital note-taking is being able to pull in diagrams. It saves so much time, it's neater, and honestly helps me learn a lot better. So I found this slide from my lecture slides particularly helpful, so I just lassoed it, took a screenshot, and copied it over into my notes page. Anytime I bring in a diagram or picture, I like to outline that in my accent color. I find that it just looks neater and more put together that way. I also really like using the shape tool in GoodNotes to draw out diagrams and pictures myself if I find that might be particularly helpful. So in the case for my polymer class, I like to draw out the polymers themselves. In my last video, I mentioned how I prepare my notes to be printed because at the time I liked having a physical copy of my notes. But now I keep it strictly digital as far as my notes go. However, if you do want to print out your digital notes, I recommend changing the template style if you chose a quad ruled or aligned. So I'll change my grid template to a blank white template. It just makes your notes look cleaner and you'll save on ink since the printer won't be printing all those grid lines. Once you've changed the template for all the pages, then you can export it as a PDF and airdrop it to your computer or save it to the drive and print. And that's basically everything I do when it comes to taking notes on my iPad. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll link the previous video down in the description for you to watch if you're interested in seeing that one. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new to my channel, and follow me on Instagram at kdigitalstudio if you haven't already. I love posting time lapses of me taking notes on my iPad, planning on my iPad, and other really cool stuff. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week with another video.